Secret meeting of the CDU, unbelievable numbers, and Albrecht von Lucke confirmed exactly these numbers after yesterday's Chancellor fiasco. What this is all about, you'll find out in this video, and I have to say I was shocked to my core here.
His central mistake, and that became clear again in today's interview, is his lack of control over his own impulses and his emotions. People who could actually have come back to the conservative bloc, including many who were still with it under Merkel, have drifted away this way.
In 2025, the CDU was the party with the most members in all of Germany, with 356,000 members. But now comes the absolute worst case scenario. There is a real wave of resignations from the CDU because people feel deceived, and at the same time the whole thing is compounded exactly by the fact that the voters are simply dying off and no one is willing to join the CDU anymore. Especially now, after having even surpassed the SPD in 2024 to become the party with the most members, they would just keep governing like this. Without new reforms, they would end up losing about 50,000 members. By the way, this shocked the CDU when asked about it by Carsten Linnemann, who leaked these numbers in the secret meeting. Because he won't make any statements, if you would like to support this channel, I would really appreciate a like and a subscription. And Friedrich Merz continues exactly where he left off. Listen to this scandal.
Friedrich, last sentence addition, that I received a lot of criticism online because I harshly confronted a woman with cancer at a town hall event.
So first of all, I didn't harshly confront her, but I contradicted her on a claim she made that was simply wrong.
Friedrich, write to her, call her again.
Well, I'm definitely not going to do that on television.
And this absolute arrogance from Friedrich Merz is the reason why people no longer trust Friedrich Merz. And while there was a so-called tribunal on public television yesterday, Destroy Merz, they still put in falsified numbers. At the very least, they differ very clearly from the polling institutes that NTV uses, for example. And now take a close look at the gap between NTV and the public broadcasters. I already made a video this morning about why I don't believe the numbers from Infratest IMAP.
Friedrich V, and the assessment at the one-year mark, as you've surely seen, is quite mixed. There is a lot of criticism of you and your government. I would say it sounds more like a 5 than a 4 minus.
The question is, have we achieved anything in the last 12 months? And my answer to that is different from many reports and comments. We haven't achieved everything yet, but we have achieved a lot.
According to the ZDF Politbarometer, even fewer people, currently only 30%, think that you are doing your job rather well.
But the opposite is true.
85% are dissatisfied.
And here we see a deviation that's more than twice as large as the one for the public broadcasters. 13% who are still satisfied with Friedrich Merz, and 30% who are still satisfied with Friedrich Merz. That's why I showed you the graphic from Infratest DIMAP this morning. And yes, I already knew this morning that there are discrepancies in the positive numbers underneath, and you probably noticed that too. That's why I briefly showed that survey just now, only for a moment. However, if public broadcasting is just as far off as, for example, NTV, then of course I would agree just as much that we already have an absolute majority in Saxony-Anhalt. And that Friedrich Merz already knows these numbers this morning and knows what's coming for him in the autumn of chaos, in the autumn of downfall for the CDU.
It's difficult, but it's not just the entrepreneurs. We have 84 million people in Germany whom we represent as the federal government. And together they're all asking the question, will we get out of the crisis? Will we still be living in peace and freedom in Germany in 20 years, in 10 years?
This year, Germany as a business location is on the line, and yesterday you were talking about 2035 at the Economic Council.
That's Mr. Merz, just over 83 million. Just last year, almost 300,000 people emigrated because they simply couldn't stand the situation here anymore, because we're asking ourselves the same questions. What about the economy? What about war? What about living in peace? And here the citizens of the country are also pretty clear and no longer place their trust in them. They say very clearly that Merz is preparing for a war. People here in Germany believe that the economy is being destroyed. And you can look at opinion polls all you want. That's exactly what Albrecht von Lucke said in the end. And regarding the topic of the economy, I'll briefly show you something from the IFO Institute as well.
I think it's obvious that Mr. Merz certainly understands how big the economic challenges are, but he can't present a strategy that this government shares, one that will lead us out of this crisis. Reforming Bürgergeld is mainly just a change of name at first. There have also been some substantive changes, so the pressure is being increased a bit. But the fact remains that for many people, it's hardly worth it to work.
One of these points is if you don't feel like going to work and the dream of a 10th grader is to receive Bürgergeld, then you can't stand in front of public broadcasting and tell your voters exactly that.
As of July 1, 2026, Bürgergeld will be history. That was not an easy struggle within the coalition, but we agreed on it. There will be a new basic income support system, and the principle will apply again. Those who work earn more than those who do not work and receive social benefits if they are able to work.
And that's exactly what doesn't happen if you have a family with 1, 2, or 3 children. We don't even want to talk about more. But then it's just not worth going to work anymore. You might as well stay at home. You either get the same amount or maybe even more for not having to do anything. And those harsher sanctions he's talking about, the ones for people who refuse to work altogether, well, let's be honest, just go to an interview somewhere and say, I actually like to sleep in really late. Man, what do you want from me? Then you won't get that job anyway. You just have to be a little aggressive. By the way, that works just as well with deportations, just like it works well in many other ways. We just saw that in Leipzig too. If you're aggressive, you can even get kicked out of psychiatric hospitals here in Germany. So, as always, you just have to be a little aggressive. That's what people here are like. Because Germany is actually on the verge of the next revolution. That's the feeling I get when I talk to people here. Either they're depressed or they're really hoping that things will finally change. A change so that we get back to normal, conservative, calm politics and our police make our streets safe again on this planet. I almost said, no, of course, in our country, Germany.
And I also said in my speech yesterday that what has been neglected for 10 years can't be corrected in 10 days. We're not a speedboat that you can just quickly turn in the other direction with a sharp maneuver. We're a big, heavy ship. And getting that onto a new course requires strength and effort and a clear course you actually want to pursue.
That's also called shifting majorities with a minority government. Activating this fast boat right now immediately, by the way, INSEE agrees on this with many IFO institutes. You just have to implement what is really active and important for this country. By the way, since you already have the majorities in the Bundestag, he doesn't need to claim they aren't there. He just doesn't want to because he's afraid of the SPD, and that's the only reason he has. However, we'll keep playing this game until the elections. And by then, Lower Saxony and North Rhine-Westphalia, the 2 states, will be next. If things blow up there, if things go down there, by the way, that's what led to the end of Gerhard Schröder last time. So there's a lot of hope that the CDU will completely destroy and ruin itself.